So we're all familiar with billiards. You shoot a ball in some direction and it bounces around. And note the flux on the table there. It shows the future path of the ball if it could keep going. But how would you trace a path inside a convex polygon in general? You'd calculate the deflection point, calculate the new angle, and repeat. So, and this screenshot is a screenshot from my Polygon Tricks app, iPad app. Before we get into the music, a little bit on billiards education. Instead of all that bouncing around, you can think of a straight line passing through copies of the polygon folded over along the path. The angle of reflection is simply the opposite angle of the crossing of a side. That's all we'll do there. Here's a path running at an odd angle through the grid. You can see the square flip-flopping as it follows the path along. Each such path would generate some pattern inside a square, in this case here. Triangle grid. I can't easily visualize what pattern might be formed by one of those purple lines here as the line goes through the grid. Likewise, some paths are simple, whereas this pink one at the bottom is, what does that generate? Here's a flux in a triangle. Now I've only mentioned the tile planing polygons, but clearly this dynamic is defined for all polygons. My app Polygon Flux allows folks with iPads to experiment with an 11-sided polygon, for example. But after Polygon Flux, I was curious, what would a polygon sound like? Would the sound sequences resemble music? So let's experiment with another app that I wrote. I'm going to switch over to Polygon Jazz now, but I want to warn people, I haven't done this in public, to groups of people, and there is a potential for called musicogenic epileptic fits. So if this throws your neighbor into a fit, just holler or raise your hand, and I'll stop, okay? And also, we're going to change over here now. This is just an early version of the app, okay? And by the way, this app is free through the conference. You can pick it up in the App Store. So let's go here. So now this intuitively, this is for intuitive, this makes sense that the ball would be going around in kind of a clockwise motion here. And if we pick the ball up and drag it over here, it's going clockwise or counterclockwise motion. Now let's go back over there. But now what I'm going to do, what do you think is going to happen if I just kick the angle by 1 degree? And see its path is changing there, and I'll be darned, it reversed directions there. You wouldn't think, intuitively, you'd think it would keep going in the clockwise direction, but obviously it can change directions when it makes that transition there. Okay, so let's now look at here's the pentagon, and you can see that if we move it here, we get one song, right? And we kind of get that same song up here. I'm sorry, that's not quite right. But up in here, it's going to be going, there's two kind of parallel orbits, they're called. It's just going to keep going in that orbit forever. But again, if I kick that by a degree, it doesn't stay in that orbit. It starts doing this little oppositional thing side to side. And then at some point it will also kick back and go into the circular type motion again too. So, you know, I've just begun to explore this this space, and this was a fun one to find out. A little bit of clockwise, counterclockwise motion, but it just depends on the angle on which side it hits first, whether it's going to start going clockwise or counterclockwise. And you can just ramp this thing up. Okay, now that's about all I'm going to do there. This one is the 12-sided polygon, pianonoid, and it goes into different modalities. So I hate to cut you short on that, but I could play this for a long time, but I want to go back to the keynote now. And say that, so what this has shown me is you've got the geometry, which the flux showing the line, 1 minute, good, that's perfect. The geometry, when you run the geometry, you just see the geometry to all the lines all at once. But with the jazz, you get to hear it through time, and you experience those hitting of the sides in sequence. And so you hear the music. And I mentioned the modalities. The nice thing about this is you can slow it way down, and you can get the sort of an ambient experience. And then it's on polygonjazz.com. You can watch a YouTube video. And then this was some other data I had about those clockwise, counterclockwise, and oppositional patterns. You can analyze those and see how many of different kinds you get for different angles, and you change the angle by 1 degree, and then those numbers change radically. This is a good little book. As a reference, has a lot of exercises in it, geometry and billiards. And this is another app that, this one lets you set probabilistic probabilities of whether or not it's going to go from one note to another using a Markov chain type algorithm. So that's what I got. Thank you.